Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Cake Batter Chapstick. My name is Dion. This is TCTN. What is TCTN? TCTN is the crazy troll nation of YouTube. The craziest because we have fun here on this channel. We enjoy what we do with our makeup. We experiment a lot. We just do a bunch of things just to do a bunch of things because it's fun. The troll part of the crazy troll nation is not caring too much of what the beauty community standards of beauty are. Here it is about self-acceptance, self-love, loving yourself for who you are and for how you look, embracing your natural features, enhancing them when you want to, but not feeling like you have to be socially acceptable or put together. Just love how you look. You're beautiful. And that is the basic concept of it. And so if you want to do all the things, do all the things, but because you just feel like it, not because you feel like it's a necessity. And also along the lines of being a troll is wear whatever you want to wear and just rock it. Whatever brand you want to purchase, whatever tools you want to use, whatever techniques you want to use, wear your makeup the way you want to and just rock it with confidence. That is what the Crazy Troll Nation stands for. So if you've been here before, you heard all of that before, and I appreciate you for coming back. And if you're new here, now you know. Also, what you'll see here is you'll see collabs, you'll see tags, you'll see a lot of experiments, makeup over 50, which probably doesn't look like makeup over 50, skincare. I do have sensitive skin, so I talk about that a lot, and just a lot of different things. And yeah, we're going to jump into this video. I'm excited because today we're using, as you see from the title, all 5, can I count 6 of the Lethal Cosmetics face brushes. And I will let you know what the brush is before we're going to use it. I will link that video below when I talked about the entire collection, what it says is used for, and what I would probably use it for. So we're going to do a base face. This is going to be in real time, so it might be a little bit long. We're using our Inglot palette. We're going to put 3 pumps because sometimes I use 2 and it seems okay, and then other times 2 pumps I'm scraping, trying to get all of it off. And this is the foundation. My perfect shade is 335, and I was so glad when they came out with new shades because the other ones wasn't quite matching, and I kept trying to finagle it and it wasn't really finagling, and it was kind of annoying. So we're using what they call the foundation brush. This one is number 120. This is what it looks like. Look at this shape. I'm not going to get into a lot about the brushes because I showed all of that in the previous video. So we're going to just mix this together, the primer with the foundation, and we're going to dot it on. This does not seem to be absorbing the foundation, which is nice. And it sounds really wet tapping it onto my face, which is good because that's the foundation and the primer, and it should be. With this Fenty primer, I find that I don't usually want to put concealer on top of it because it covers very well. Like if you remember what I looked like, you know, a few seconds ago, look at my under eye now. Look at me now. Woo! But anyway, yeah, so this is definitely my shade. I think I could have went in with 2 pumps with this brush. So it picked up the product well, and it's not absorbing the product. And I'm liking that I can get into all the corners because sometimes with larger brushes, when I look back, there's no foundation in the corners of my 5 head. And I'm liking that I can get in this area here. I can get around my brows without disturbing them. I do have one of the L'Oreal brow pencil. So that was the only makeup product I had on. And I can get into the corners of my nose. And you saw the redness before. And so now that it's everywhere, we're going to go through and just buff. Just to get off like the lines, like how you see is none here, but it's some here. So we're going to just go through, and we're using the tip of the brush, and we're just going to buff everything except around the nose. We're just going to kind of sweep because, I mean, you can buff around the nose, I guess. Making sure I get into the corners. I like the shape of this brush. I am going to apply more here because with the buffing, I'm losing a little bit where I have that redness. And I didn't put the cream on today because I didn't want it to interfere with using these brushes for the first time. I wanted to just see what these brushes were going to do with what I would do with them. Oh, I got foundation in my brows. Did I? I don't know. I think I did. So I'll fill that back in And that was me just being haphazard. But I am really liking that you can get really close because of the edge on this brush. I usually don't do too much right here because my glasses will create an indentation there anyway, and then it'll actually get on the plastic parts of the glasses. I really was not sure about this brush because it was so small, but I have a lot left. Like, this really placed, I'm guessing, the 2 pumps, and I think this here is the 3rd pump of both the primer and the foundation. And I am turning it sideways and tapping here, but I could even just do it this way. Like, if I had put concealer on, because I put concealer just here and here, I would have just tapped it over. But because it's the foundation there, I'm okay with just going sideways. And so what we're going to do, I think this looks really nice. This foundation does look nice on me, I think, but even the brush application, and I can get right up around my lips, because sometimes I do miss some of those areas. But I'm thinking the application is good. I'm not seeing any streaks. I'm not seeing any patchiness. We're going to just tap lightly and put some here where the redness is, and we're just going to tap it and not buff it. So we're going to take some more. I am really digging this brush, going around my nose again because it gets red there too. I do have sensitive skin, I mentioned that earlier, and so there's times, especially when I wear a mask, it aggravates my skin. So I'm going to leave that like that, and it does feel a little wet because it's not quite dry. I am digging this brush. Oh my gosh. I think I got all of my areas that I need to get. Under here, I think looks good with this foundation. This brush, so if you're one of those people, I'm going to just take a little bit more. Well, I'm not to say it that way. A lot of people, when they use a brush for foundation, they go over it with a sponge because they say, you know, they see patchiness or streaks from the brush. And I really think it's just that type of brush that they're using, because do you think I need to go in with a sponge? And I don't use sponges because I don't feel like I need to. And for me, sponges would just absorb excess makeup. And because I put what I actually need, there's not a lot of excess left. And so I found for me, when I was using sponges, all it was doing was just lifting the makeup off of my face, and that was creating patchiness, and then I had to go back with the brush and put more product on. And so that may be an unpopular opinion. The very first time I tried to use, well, not tried to, but the very first time I used a sponge for concealer, it didn't even apply the concealer. I put the concealer on, used the sponge, and yes, it was damp, and I squeezed the excess water out. All it did was lift the foundation, the concealer off of my face. And I did a video on that, and I'm like, what the heck is the hype? Because this is not working. And it turned out that I wasn't using enough concealer for it to place, blend, and pick up the excess. So you use just enough. Like, I'm not going to force myself to use the rest of this, but if you're using just enough concealer, just enough foundation, I don't think you need a sponge. And also the tool you're using helps, because look at this. I'm realizing how from here, my skin is a different shade. And that's why I placed more foundation here, but then it still looks the same. And you see, the foundation is good. It's a good match. So what do you think? Do I need a sponge? You can say I do, but I will not believe you. And so we're going to leave that there. The next thing, we're going to use the powder brush because I'm going to set my face, and I'm also going to use this later for finishing powder. So I'm using this because we're going to be using powder face products, blushes, bronzers, highlights. I do notice when I mix the Fenty primer with the Fenty foundation, it does dry down like fairly quickly, but just to ensure it does, because I don't want anything to look weird and we say, oh, it's the brush. And so we're going to use this powder brush, which is number 100. And I put some of the Fashion Fair Set It Loose Truly Tawny. which is my shade, and I'm going to turn the brush and put some on the tip of the brush if I can. This reminds me of that massive Scott Barnes brush that I have. This is me tapping the excess off. And what I do with that brush, I tap the powder on and then I turn and tap over here. And this is why I coat all of the brush, because very seldom do I go back in except just to get whatever's in here off the lid. And so this feels soft. And I tap it all over lightly in case the foundation is still damp in some places. And then I'll go through, this is soft, and just lightly swirl all over my face. Y'all, I'm liking his brushes so far. I think I still need to fill in my eyebrow over there. I like this. Oh my gosh. Wow. All right, so there is a lot of powder. Not a lot, but some powder. My foundation palette dropped and it landed foundation side down on the carpet. Oh. Another thing about Troll here, I'm clumsy. And my station is small too, but even when I had a larger station, I'm just doing this just to get the excess out of the lid so it doesn't make a mess when I put the cap onto the container. Oh my gosh. Y'all, this is so soft. Wow. I'm feeling an itch right here. All right, so we're going to use that again later. So what we're going to do right now, we didn't use concealer under our eyes, but we're going to use actually the highlight fan brush. I'm sorry. Yeah, the highlight fan brush. This is number 125. And I remember saying this, I would use this for setting under my eye. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to be using both Hourglass Elephant and the Tiger palette. And in the Elephant palette, we're going to use this shade here to set our under eye, even though we don't need to because we just put that other powder there. But I just want to see how this brush works for that. And there is another brush I could use for this as well, but I just want to kind of see right now. It does seem like it's challenging to pick up the powder, but I think because these are, they're not dry and they're not stiff, but it is a pressed powder, and they're not as easy to pick up as highlighters. And maybe because this is a matte, I don't know, even though there is a tad bit of shimmer to it. And also you see the brush, like it is very, very bendy. And so I think that might be it, but I am seeing it on the brush though. So I don't know if that made a difference. I just wanted to try it for that. We're going to take now the number 110 contour brush. And for the Elephant palette, we're going to use this shade here as a contour. And I normally don't contour, but we're using the brushes and we're using them for what they say you should use them for. And after I do these videos, I will then use them for what I want to use them for. And it may still be the same thing, what they say and what I use them for, or it may not, but I am going to experiment using them different ways. And so I'm placing it here and feathering upward lightly. I don't do the whole contour coming all the way down. This is how I contour, and usually this is where I put bronzer as contour, but because we're using the brushes the way they say so, this is contour, so we're using it for contour. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to blend, even though contour is supposed to be a line. I don't like the harsh lines. And so that's what we're going to do for that. I kind of want to do my corners, but I think I'm going to save that for the bronzer, actually. Because I think that tone won't look well across my forehead. I do like that shade though. We're going to take a little bit right here only because this is supposed to be, actually this says bronze Well, I used this as a bronzer slash contour before. And so we're just going to put this just underneath our jawline. And we're going to go back in. I'm just wiggling and tapping off, even though it isn't anything to tap off, because these are not loose powders. They're not powdery at all. I'm going to go back and wiggle, tap off, and get right here. My stomach is telling me to eat, and we're going back in. And I said, I'm going to do a video first. Get my priorities, y'all. And it's, yeah, like almost 2:30 in the morning. Y'all, my sleep schedule is so weird. I am really liking how this is laying shadows. The powders. I do want to kind of do my forehead too. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we're going to start and just tap it over, because I do think I'm going to end up going in with the bronzer up here too. So we are tapping. These brushes are really soft, and I do think they're applying the powders nicely. So hopefully when I watch it back, it looks the same as what it's looking like for me right now. So we're going to close that up. We're going to put that brush away. Actually, whatever's left on the brush, just put it across my nose, which seems to just make my nose look shiny, which is weird. Now we're going to take what they say is the bronzer brush. This is the 105, and it's tapered. And we're going to use from the Tiger palette this shade up here, which is a finishing powder, but for me it's bronzer slash contour. And so I'm going to, I do prefer a smaller brush for this palette because the pans are small. So I'm going to, oh, okay, we're going to swipe. Okay, and so we're just going to put this here. Ooh, I think I mentioned, no, I actually did. I mentioned in another video that I hate that I love these Hourglass palettes. I avoided them for a long time, and because they're not inclusive. And I messed around and got Tiger and loved it. And then I got Elephant, loved it. Then I got a single palette that I'm going to show you later. And I have a 3-pan Hourglass face palette. So I really went down a rabbit hole like super quick. We're going to tap in again, and we're just going to just lightly sweep right here. This one is really soft as well. And if I was using a different bronzer, one that was really a bronzer, I would just tap the tip in versus swiping. But I am pleased with how this is looking. We're going to wipe that on our nose as well. And so that's it for the bronzer brush. The next one we're going to take is the blush brush. This is the number 115, and I was going to say it's shaped like something else, but it's not. It's not even shaped like this. It has a similar shape as this one if you hold this sideways, but this one when you turn it is wide, and this one is kind of the same all the way around. I mean, it's tapered a tiny bit, but not as much as this one, which is the bronzer brush. So this is the blush brush, and I don't want to take one of those. We're going to go back to the Tiger palette, and we're going to go into this shade right here. This is just going to go with the look I'm going to do later. We're going to take, wait a minute, which is a blush. We're going to take this one here, which is a blush. Oh my God, it just picks up like, and we're going to apply it. And we're just going to tap it on initially. And then if you want to go back and sweep it, you can, or you can just sweep it downward towards where your bronzer is. But this is typically how I place my blush. And we're going to go back in. I was going to say, what shade did I use? Was it this one? Yeah, it was. I didn't tap off this time. Yeah, so I hate that I love these powders because they're not inclusive. And I messed around and tried it and loved it. And now here I am with a bunch of them. So we're going to go back in. I didn't tap off this time. And we're going to apply this on this side. I did a short with, did I upload it yet? No. It might be by the time this is uploaded. Using the 3-pan Hourglass palette. And this area of my face was super shiny. And I did put my creams on that day. But then I also did the foundation and everything else. And so I don't know if the cream was just shining through everything else or not. But this area of my face was so super shiny. And I did post a reel of a look. It was an eye look. But I had did the base face first. And Nomad commented, "Your skin is so glowy." And I'm like, "Oh, that looked like chicken grease." But it was really shiny. And so that is what that is. I am loving this. So that is it for the blush brush. We're just going to, everything is applying nicely. Like, I have no complaints at all yet. And I'm actually enjoying using them for what they say that they are. We're going to take the brush we use for our under eye area. There's just this rogue strand just hanging. This brush, y'all, it's just, all right. We're going to take this one here as a highlight. So we're going to use the highlighter brush. Yeah, this one is the only one I'm not sure about yet, because it does seem to be flimsy. And so this is how I place my highlighter. But again, when I showed you, if I try to sweep it, the whole brush just turns and bends. And so I guess you could just do this. And so yeah, let's do that. So we're going to get the product, and I am wiggling it in because these are not powdery powders. So we have some on both sides. We're going to tap off, and we're going to try it like this. And it works like this. Okay. Yeah, that worked. So this will be what I'll need to do versus, and I could still do that and then turn it and do that and then blend it down or up or just what else. Huh. Okay. So that was the highlighter brush. And if you wanted to do, which I don't, you know, your cheek, I mean, this is not the cheek, the chin, or how some people do here, which I never do. Like, if you look at my face, the light naturally bounces off of it anyway, so I don't feel like I need to add to that. Like, just let it be what it is, because I've already done foundation and all the other stuff, so it's like, why more? You know what I mean? This, we're going to take Dim Light. This is the single that I purchased, and that is this shade here. I wanted a bigger one. First world problems, you just want more and more, even if you already have it. And I do use that one in the Elephant palette, but I purchased this one because then I can turn. This is the finishing brush, and so we're back to number 100, and I am dipping and I'm turning and I'm swiping. And a finishing brush, you put on finishing powder, I mean, you put it on after you've put everything else on your face that you're going to put. Mine is eyeshadow because you're not going to put it over your eyes. And so this is to finish everything off that you've done, supposedly give everything a seamless blend. But I do think everything looked fine the way it was, honestly. But I am liking using this finishing powder, and I don't know if it's in my mind or if it does give me just like a little more evened glow. And you can still see everything. You still see the contour, you still see the bronzer, you still see the blush, you see the highlight still. And even across my forehead, it's subtle because I did it subtle, but that's what it is. And so these are, oh, I know you cannot see this. No, you cannot. There you go. You see this one strand of hair hanging up? That's the kind of things that concerns me. You see that? This is not a gray hair because you see is, you know, and now you see this one long hair. So this is what concerns me. And I remember saying in the other video that there were like just a few strands that were just hanging out, but you saw how it actually just pulled out of the thing. And so part of me is wondering, how long are these brushes going to last? We will put it to the test because I do use my brushes, and I will continue using these probably more so than my other brushes, just to really see like how well they hold up. And everything is not like there's another hair. This is the blush brush. No, this is the bronzer brush. There is just like one longer strand here. And so that's concerning because that wasn't there earlier, but after using it, it was there. And it may not be an issue because this is my first time using them. I did wash them prior to using them. But everything is not always settled in properly, you know what I mean? And so it's sort of like, you know, you buy a new shirt and you wash and then you wear it, and then there's like fuzz and, you know, somewhere in the shirt. And so it could just be just extra stuff. Even though as rough as I am with washing my brushes, I think that is something that would have happened when I washed it. And even when I was showing it to you and demonstrating, you know, all of this stuff, that hair wasn't there. That didn't happen until now. And so that's the only thing that kind of concerns me. It causes me to question the quality, even though it feels really good. You see everything with all the brushes applied really well, but just those rogue strands. And it happens with natural hair brushes too, because each strand is put in here, whether they pack it together and stick it in or not. And so it does make sense that there would be something out of place somewhere. However, I'm not used to that with the brushes that I have. Like, that's something new for me, just to use it, and all of a sudden there's just one long hair and it just pulls out. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, these are this one hair, the strand on this highlighter brush. I'm gonna end up cutting that, excuse me. So these are all the face brushes. We have used every one of them, and I like that as a brush holder, I can have the face brushes here and the eyeshadow brushes in this one. And so I hope this helped you. I know some of you did want to see me use these, and I was going to use them exclusively anyway, just to see if they really are worth it. And so far, I will say the face brushes are worth it. The entire set was $146. It is cheaper to purchase the set versus like 5, 6, or 7 individual brushes, and that comes out to less than $10 a brush, and you have a very sturdy brush holder. So I do think the price is good, and even if one brush ends up being garbage, I do still think it's worth the price. Less than $10 a brush plus the brush holder. And so we'll come back another day and use the eye brushes. I want to go, and so stay tuned for that video. You will see this one actually right now because you're watching it, and I appreciate it. If you're here for the first time and you enjoyed this video, you know, I welcome you to browse through my playlist, see if you like my other content. And if you do, I would hope that you would subscribe, like the videos you like, leave comments on the ones that you watch, and also to share my videos with those that you think would be helpful. And I appreciate you all for being here. I probably just said that, but I really do. And so I think I say that a lot because I do appreciate you all for being here. You can be anywhere and you're here. So let me be quiet before I get on your nerves. And you will see me in the next video.